Kei aku manu taiko, nau mai rā ki te pai o te ao Māori with Moana. Thanks for joining us tonight on Whakaata Māori. Coming up, a new invention that could make a big difference to both health providers and whānau. But first, let's get digital. Non Fungible Tokens. What are they? For some of us, they're a headspin. It's taken me ages to remember the acronym NFTs. Unique digital assets that are being bought and sold online, and they've exploded in popularity over the past few years. But what does it all mean? Is it all just empty hype over a new technology, or is there more to it than that? Our reporter Shamina Smith meets some Māori creatives who believe NFTs are creating game-changing opportunities. But she's also learned there's a darker side to this new technology too.
I've always been fascinated with new things, even in terms of like startup business, and I've tried to do a couple of things in my lifetime. So I was just attracted to it because it was different, it was decentralized, it was outside of the system, and I kind of like rebellish kind of things, you know, that are kind of going the other way.
Sons of Zion frontman Hiria Te Rangi is a big believer in the power of NFTs. When the pandemic hit, he realised the new technology could potentially provide a new revenue stream for his band.
Myself and the band, we quickly realised that shows were up in the air. You know, we didn't know when we could play. So I needed to think of ways to pivot for the band and pay ways to be able to continue to do music, create an income so we can look after our families. And NFTs just made sense to me, you know.
Okay, he gets it. But what exactly are NFTs?
Everyone gets an NFT?
Yes, everyone.
Everyone gets an NFT to come on.
NFT is shorthand for non fungible token, and they're usually bought and sold with cryptocurrency. It's complicated, but think of it like this. An NFT is basically a digital certificate that says you own something unique, like a picture or a video, or even a tweet.
The first tweet that Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey posted has sold as a non-fungible token, or NFT, for about $2.9 million.
But why would you want to buy an NFT of an image, for example, when you could just copy and paste it for free? An Auckland University academic who studies NFTs says it's partly because of something called the metaverse.
Increasingly, we're moving into the metaverse. So people start to hear that more. That's when more and more stuff is done online. And we'll have like different virtual worlds, which there are some already. And for example, if you own the NFT of something, depending on the metaverse, only you can actually display it. So it isn't a case that someone else can just copy it and show it. But also people are irrational. You know, people will buy, you know, you can buy a very good print of, say, Van Gogh's sunflowers, and it looks good, really, really good. You can buy that for a couple of $100. But yet people will spend, I don't know, 10, 20, how many hundreds of millions to buy the real one. Why is that? Yeah. It's what you want to do.
Alex says the power of NFTs is that they exist on something called a blockchain, which is a type of technology that stores information in a decentralised way.
Think of it as a record of transactions that isn't kept with one person. That record is kept amongst lots and lots of people. So if someone is hacked, a few of those computers are hacked, they can't change that record. So if you're an artist now and you are creating a physical bit of art, you can use an NFT over that bit of art to create provenance. Because at the moment, it's very, very difficult. You have experts to say, yes, this is a Leonardo da Vinci, and then other people argue that it's not. So you can see the value of proving the provenance, and that cannot be faked, essentially.
The ability to prove something's authenticity in the digital age is what has got many NFT enthusiasts excited. And it helps explain why some NFT prices have gone ballistic.
A digital artwork by a relatively unknown American artist known as Beeple has sold at Christie's for nearly $70 million.
But the market for this sort of stuff has gone from some crazy heights to some pretty low lows recently. Despite this volatility, some Māori artists are making a bit of money selling their art as NFTs.
As soon as I got my first sale, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. There's like, a few $100s for a photo that was on my computer doing nothing. I'd shared it on Instagram, I'd shared it on Twitter. People were like, oh, great, cool photography, Richie, it's really good. But there wasn't a lot of work for strictly astrophotographers.
By astrophotographer, he means taking photos of the night sky. His recent work has been interpreting that through a Māori lens.
When I started selling, I was like, oh, I like this.
When Richie makes a sale, he doesn't sign over ownership. He simply gives the buyer the right to display the work in the metaverse.
And so I was like, okay, so I've sold this photo to them as an NFT, but I can still print it and sell it as a print, or put it in a calendar and still sell it. So I was like, cool, there's no, that's a no-brainer. I've got to do this.
It's this new revenue stream for you and like lots of other artists. Do you think it's sustainable, or do you think it's like partly driven by hype, or like what's your thoughts on that?
My main thought is I don't care. It's like, just get it while you can, and then like if the bubble pops, you made some money, all good. You didn't lose anything. You never signed over these photos. You still own all the copyright to all your photos, so there's no like downside.
The NFT sales Richie makes also provide him with resale royalties.
If I sell a photo to you and then you sell it to someone else, I'll get 10% of that sale. So it is ongoing like money as well.
But NFTs aren't just providing artists with new revenue streams. They're also creating new ways to engage with fans. In collaboration with Stan Walker and Kings, this year Sons of Zion launched an NFT project called Eager Beaver. It comes with a list of promises from them to their investors, and part of that was giving away $10,000 of musical equipment to 2 schools nominated by their NFT community.
The way that I'd explain it is it's basically a key represented by a picture of a beaver. That's the easiest way I can explain it. So the people who invest in purchasing one of these pictures of a beaver, what they're really doing is accessing everything that comes with that beaver, which is access to this community and the initiatives that we're doing, like the instrument drop-off we've done today, as well as other things that we're doing. So Sons of Zion, we're giving away a portion of our next album to the beaver holders. We're going to be running our own festivals and shows, and a portion of public ticket sales will go back to the beaver. So it's all that, I guess, access and opportunity to what we're building as a community here.
So far, so good. Except just last month, the cryptocurrency and NFT markets tanked.
Hundreds of billions of dollars have been wiped off cryptocurrencies in a massive sell-off of the digital assets. They're frequently used to buy other volatile online investments like NFTs.
With crypto crashing, if you own a non-fungible token or NFT, you are so funged. Because evidently, celebrity-endorsed NFTs are leaving investors financially crippled.
There's no getting away from it. NFTs are high-risk assets, and sometimes high risk comes with high reward. But some are worried that fear of missing out is driving people to buy NFTs that they really just can't afford.
If someone is not in a good financial situation and they want to or think they can make money out of NFTs, do not buy them. Because the chances are 99% of the time you'll end up losing money on them. For me, which I find really distressing, is that the people who can least afford to lose money are the ones that are being preyed on, and they're the ones that are almost more likely to buy because they're desperate and they think this is a way out of their basic poverty trap, and it's not. And that's really, really evil, is the only word I could describe it as.
Natalie Vincent is the CEO of a non-profit financial service for low-income Kiwis who've run into money problems. She's seen people take out high-interest loans to buy cryptocurrency. Now she worries about NFTs.
The storytelling that's out there from people who have invested in crypto or had NFTs and have made it big. You see them on Instagram showing their flashy lifestyle, and it's appealing to people, particularly if you are struggling financially and you're looking for a way to get out of that.
In NFT communities, there's a lot of talk about achieving financial freedom and even generational wealth. It's this sort of rhetoric that concerns Natalie.
People only tell the good news stories. You don't hear about the people that actually put in $1,000 and got nothing. And what do they do then? Because if you don't have a robust sort of financial situation that can weather that storm, and you actually need to take that $1,000 that you put in out for something that may happen in your life, and suddenly it's down to $200, you know, it's a crisis.
Photographer Richie Mills is well aware of the risks with NFTs. When he first started out, he learnt the hard way.
I was like, next Bored Ape Yacht Club, I'm going to be generational wealth. Let's do it. I'm going to be a millionaire. So I bought into a couple of projects. They just like the people took the money and ran, and it was like, where's the Discord gone? They go, oh, they deleted it. They got like taken out by the SEC or something. I was like, what is going on?
That prompted him to do a lot more research, and today he runs a YouTube channel about NFTs, advising newbies on potential pitfalls.
I started seeing people getting ripped off and quite scammy things. Like, I was just learning more, and I was like, oh, there's a lot going on here. In New Zealand, we saw it particularly, and it was targeting Indigenous and Polynesian Pacific Island communities through hip hop, through Polynesian and Pacific Island influences. And I was like, okay, that's why I started my YouTube channel, was just like, let's really just call people out and to say, no, don't get into this. Get into this maybe, don't get into this.
His main advice for potential NFT buyers? Do proper research.
1 hour's research for every $100 you want to invest. And it doesn't mean going into the Discord. That means really, really researching what they're saying and what they're offering.
Reopo Panapa has also been burnt by disappointing NFT investments. That's why he's determined to deliver realistic outcomes for eager beaver investors.
The things that I am saying, the things that myself and the boys are saying, you know, I feel like we can back it up. We've done it, and we've done it for a long time with a bit of longevity. So I think our thing is more a utility community kind of project rather than off the back of this, you'll buy your next home. You know, that's just not the reality of what we're trying to achieve here.
Home yeah, we yeah.
Jamina Smith with that story. Moral of the story, do what they say. Plenty of research, and don't buy into it if you can't afford to lose money. After the break, a clever new device that could make a big difference to whānau over winter. Welcome back. It's a bit muckarity, isn't it? It's that time of the year when the winter chills are setting in, and for most of us it's about wrapping up warm and turning on a heater. For some though, it's not that simple, and it's a no-brainer that cold homes lead to illness. A Tauranga-based inventor has come up with a device that can give vital clues to health providers and whānau about living conditions which are not up to scratch, in a bid to prevent illness like asthma, pneumonia and lung disease. Kirsty Babbington with this story.
Self-confessed tech nerd and inventor Hiria Te Rangi. She's all about finding tech solutions to Māori health problems. There's Paihono, an online dashboard to help Māori whānau navigate Omicron, and the Manawa meters.
For me, technology is just a medium. Do you know what I mean? And so when I look at all of the issues that Māori have, especially with health, I'm like, why aren't we using technology to fix this? And I think a lot of people think it might be too hard.
Her drive to find tech solutions for health problems is personal. Her nan Tāwai Te Rangi died in 2017 from pneumonia after contracting a cold only 2 weeks earlier.
She was gentle and harsh at the same time. And she was opinionated, but at the same time allowed us to be who we are, as we stand.
While staying in her nan's home during the tangi, the whānau noticed how cold and damp it was, and Hiria knew then that a device she had been working on with a friend whose children had asthma could be a lifesaver.
even though I didn't have a prototype to, because I would have done it, right? But the grief of it, knowing that if I had been faster, if I'd have just been like a month faster.
The device, originally designed at the kitchen table and built using parts from AliExpress, reads the temperature and dampness in a room.
Because we had already started creating whare hauora and the manawa kits, I knew straight away what it was. And so during her tangi, I just used a temperature gauge and measured her room overnight. And it was averaging 11, 12 degrees. And I already knew that our kaumātua don't like to use electricity in order to warm their whare. But if we had have known, we would have taken over the power bill, we would have moved her to our whare, we would have done whatever the heck it took. But we didn't know.
Respiratory disease is New Zealand's third most common cause of death. It accounts for 1 in 8 of all hospital stays, and people living in the most deprived households are admitted to hospital for respiratory illness more than 3 times more often than people from the wealthiest areas. Across all age groups, hospitalisation rates are much higher for Pacific peoples, including Māori, than for other ethnic groups. Māori have the highest rate of respiratory disease mortality.
It always comes down to fuel poverty, the inability to be able to pay the power bill over winter because it's hitting $300, $400, $500. And it's like, if you have to choose between rent and kai, then you drop electricity generally because you can't see the effects. You see the effects of not having a whare immediately, of not having kai immediately, but electricity or heating, you'll see that in like 1-2 weeks.
So how does installing a meter address that?
So when we install, we always put the sensors by the upoko of the person that's sickest or gets sick the most. Because what we're trying to do is figure out how the environment of their home is affecting their health. And so they might already have a respiratory illness like asthma, they might already have eczema, they might have COPD for a lot of our kaumātua, they might have had bronchiolitis, pneumonia previously. And so what we're trying to do is figure out how much humidity or dampness is in the air because it's a key indicator of mould. And so if you have humidity of over 60%, then mould is definitely growing. And the way that mould grows is that it releases spores into the air and you breathe those spores in, they irritate you, and that's how your asthma kicks off or your COPD.
With real-time information being fed back to the whare through a centralised website, people can take immediate steps to improve conditions.
Oh, hello Lynn, how are you? I brought Hiria with me.
For Lynn Hill, it's brought peace of mind.
If I get cold and everything, yes, I'd be quick to get the flu, which really affects my breathing, you know. I was quite curious to know what they really were and what they were going to do, yes. So, only little things, you know, yeah. It's quite interesting, you know, to look on your computer and just see, you know, your moisture in that. And it does tell you too, especially in the wintertime, if it's sort of a bit damp, to open your windows and that sort of thing, to let a bit of air through.
And health providers like Tūranga Health, which look at whānau health holistically, can use the data to progress healthy homes initiatives.
Well, it's fantastic. This is, for us, it's cutting edge, getting into that home, you know. Over the tenure that we've been around, a lot of whānau, asthmatics, bronchitis, you know, and the only thing that really we could put in place was things like medication or, you know what I mean? And actually now having something in, a bit of a game changer that sort of identifies, you know, the well-being of the home itself. And then if it's under the radar or not performing to what it should be, either around moisture content or warmth, we can now introduce tangible interventions into the whare.
Based on the data?
Based on the meter. So, you know, and for us, that's a, yeah, there's the game changer.
Good to see you.
with that level of technology coming in, it's going to give us a bit of a platform to understand what's the level of condensation in that whare, that generates that moisture content. And so rather than putting that on a piece of paper and leaving it there, we can bring the intervention in, we can bring the curtains in, we can do, whether it's a heat pump or insulation, all these tangible endeavours. So rather than just have a bit of a talk fest, Aunty's given us the privilege of going into the whare, we're having the kōrero, identify all these sort of challenges. The fortitude for us is that when we leave that whare and when we come back with something tangible that's going to offset that challenge.
Do you think it's making a difference?
I think so, I hope so, and that's what the relationship with Tūranga Health will be, because I'm just the channel, the intermediary, right? But Tūranga Health is the one that actually creates the change inside of lives, because they take care of them so closely. And so, yeah, I just want to support whole organisations by doing technology like this.
But tech is the key. Are there enough Māori in the tech field?
Oh, no, not by a long shot. What's needed is the understanding of your people, understanding the problem that you're trying to solve, and then coming up with the concept to solve that particular problem.
Isn't that clever? And that was Kirsty Babington with that story. Now, after the break, a taste of what's coming up in a couple of weeks and what's going down in your rohe. Now, in the recent Queen's Birthday honours, Libby Hakaraia, Ella Henry and Chelsea Winstanley were recognised for their mahi in the film industry. So I wanted to take a minute to celebrate where we are. In 2020, Taika Waititi, first Māori to win an Oscar, said in his acceptance speech that Indigenous people are the original storytellers. Tautoko there. Māori storytelling has always been captured in our waiata, haka, whai kōrero, carvings and moko. Film, of course, plays an important role in how we see ourselves, if at all, and how others perceive us. I remember being interviewed in Toronto by a journalist who had just watched Once Were Warriors. He remarked how disappointing it was that Māori, once such a noble people, are now all gangsters. I had to pop his bubble and remind him that while Warriors was an excellent film, it wasn't a documentary. Since then, though, Māori are increasingly present in front of and behind the cameras. In 2021, 6 of the top 10 films at the New Zealand box office contained Māori stories. Yes, there's still debate about what is a Māori film. Must Māori creators be in control? Does the story itself have to be obviously Māori, and what does that mean anyway? But one thing for sure is we've moved beyond Māori as the noble savage and the happy-go-lucky bloke strumming a guitar. The 70s saw the rise of Māori filmmakers like Barry Barclay, Don Selwyn, who directed the very first film in Te Reo, and Merata Mita, the first Māori woman to write and direct a feature. These game changers worked alongside Pākehā to bring those stories to the screen, and these types of collaborations continue. Now we see more Māori writers, directors and producers on the rise and being recognised. Thanks to the Wairoa Film Festival, Māoriland and exchanges with Scub McGuffert in Finland and Imaginative in Toronto, the depth and diversity in Māori filmmaking stretches beyond the stereotypical. From The Lion King in Te Reo to Waru to the feature Whina, we're mixing it up. The flax and feathers may appear in the likes of Deadlands and Gang Patches in Vegas, but that's okay. Finally, we're starting to see more and all of ourselves. Last week we put up a post on social media asking if anyone out there had any community notices they'd like us to share. Well, we didn't expect to get so many messages. Here are just some. Jordan Daniels has her first solo exhibition. It's called Aho Hinatore on Sunday at the Meteor in Kirikiriroa. If you're around Whangarei on Saturday, June 18, head to Hihioa Cultural Centre for a day that celebrates Manawahine. On Saturday, 25th of June, the Twin City Pride Hikoi is happening. Big 21-kilometre hike from Napier Soundshell all the way to Hastings City Town Clock. For Matariki, in Australia, Ukaipo Māori Club in Newcastle will be celebrating at the Anzac Walk Bridge. Don't forget to check out the Waitangi Marae Matariki Market in Waipuka. It kicks off at 8 a.m. Here in Tāmaki Makaurau, there's a Matariki night ride in Avondale, kicking off at 3:30 p.m. On June 30, it's open day at Te Aute College, so don't be shy. Go along and have a look. That's us. Ka mātua I tēnā ngā kohinga kaupapa mō tēnei rā. Kia tau iho rā ngā manaakitanga te wāhi ngaro, ki runga ki a tātou katoa. Hōmari e!